All right. Hello, friends. Hello, friends. Happy Friday. Can you believe it's December 1st already? December 1st, 2024. Another month and it will be a brand new year, 2024. Pretty crazy, huh? Time is just zooming by, just flashing
All
by.
right. Hello, friends. Hello,
So
friends.
that's pretty
Happy Friday. Can you?
pretty crazy what's happening now. As fast as the year's going, right? It seems like the older I get, the faster time flies. I don't know about you. But fun stuff. New year coming up, exciting things. What is your vision for 2024? What is your plan? In other words, what's your story? What is the story that you choose to believe about the new year? It's just you can create your own. If you have your own blank page, you can create whatever you want with it. I'm a believer in karma. I'm a believer in manifesting, creating, setting goals, whatever you want to call it. Of course, there's certain ways to make that work and certain ways that it doesn't work, right? Because I've been there where I'm like, I'm gonna have $1 million this year, right? But there are certain steps that will work to get closer to that, and certain steps that will get further away from that. But today we're going to talk about the power of stories. Now, first of all, why are stories so powerful? And stories could be in uh, a lot of different platforms, a lot of different types, a lot of different ways to share a story. But first of all, stories. So a story in your business, one of the reasons that it's so impactful in business is that when you tell a story, it can stick in the minds of your audience, not only for seconds or minutes, but even hours, days, months, years. Depending on the story, it may even have an impact on that person for the rest of their life. And so, a story can be very powerful. Now, how do we tell stories? Well, of course, when we talk, we can tell a story. You can be around a campfire, you can be chit chatting with friends, whatever the case may be. Um, we don't always think about that. Hey, I'm just talking. But a lot of times we're sharing a story, and what does that do? It puts the other person in your shoes, puts you in their shoes. It creates this connection. Like if I'm watching a movie like the old movie Jaws from back in the day, uh, you know, even though maybe I've watched that movie before, when that shark starts coming after people, they've done studies, and your heart actually starts being affected by that. Your heart literally starts racing because we're putting ourselves in the shoes of that other person, and we feel like, even though we may be watching a movie where we know in the back of our minds we're safe, we're sitting on the couch or whatever, we're watching this shark attacking people, but we put ourselves in the position of that other person. And so our heart literally starts racing. It literally creates an emotional response within us. Um, and how far we allow that to happen is up to us, but at least triggers us in that way. Now, one of the stories, I used to be in Toastmasters, and of course, one of the things in Toastmasters is you get up and you practice speaking in front of people. Of course, it's kind of a warm audience, people that that you meet with each week, friends, so to speak. And you really you become used to getting up and speaking, maybe for a minute or a couple minutes, about some random thing. Someone says, okay, for 2 minutes talk about this, and you just stand up there and start talking and telling your story. And one time I won an award. I guess I didn't get the rules of this contest. It was a tall tale contest where we were supposed to tell a story. In the first two rounds, I won this contest. Well, what I didn't realize is it's supposed to be a made up story. And this was actually a real story that I told. And so I got disqualified after winning 2 times because it was supposed to be a made-up story. I didn't realize that. But what had happened when I was 11 years old is my grandmother ran me over in her car. And so, yeah, I got ran over by a car when I was 11 years old. So what happened was I was living in Texas, and I knew my grandma was about to go home. She had come over for uh, I think it was Sunday night supper, dinner, whatever you want to call it. I think in Texas they called it supper, but I'm used to calling it dinner. But she came over for dinner on Sunday night, and she was kind of wrapping up. You could tell because she usually would say something like, "Well, I better go," and then she'd talk for another half hour and another half hour after that. And but when she said it a couple times, you knew that she was at least getting closer. And now, first of all, my grandma, we called her Granny Toon. And if you can imagine, she wasn't the tallest woman in the world. She was, fairly short stature, you might say. Not too short, but fairly short. And she had this big floppy hat. And she was from California. She had lived in San Diego, but at the time she was living in Texas, Dallas area, fairly close to us. And she had these big, giant sunglasses, like it seemed like they were twice as big as her face. And she, sometimes she would go into a room and she'd fling the door open. So she really made her presence known. Um, but she'd come over. She was chit-chatting, talking about whatever random things, and I knew that she was going to leave soon. And so I don't know why. It seems like when we're 11 years old or close to that age, our brains just aren't fully formed, right? I think until we're 20 something, our brains aren't fully formed, and even then, at least we don't always use the capacity, uh, that we could. So she kind of hinted that she was going to leave, and I had this amazingly brilliant idea, right? That I was going to play stowaway. I was going to sneak in her car and see if I could sneak home, get a ride home with her, and then I don't know what was going to happen after that, but that was just my goal, is to see if I could sneak a ride back to her. She lived in like this apartment place, and so I decided, oh, I'm gonna go play stowaway with grandma. So I ran out the back door and run to the front of the house, and she had this ugly tan Chevy Nova, like this oversized Chevy car. And I actually have a picture here. I thought I would share this because I don't have a picture. At least I could probably go search for one as far as a picture of her. But I don't have it handy, at least. So rather than waste your time, I created an AI art, kind of like a redone picture of her, I guess you could say. And so let me share that with you really quick so you'll have an idea of the ugly, ugly car this was, at least for me. It was something like this. Now, of course, this is kind of yellowish. It was actually a little more tannish. And of course, there's a grandma looking lady in the back there. So this is basically kind of what I remember this car being, this big, ugly tan Chevy Nova. And then my grandma, she kind of had big, big hair, kind of like that. But again, she usually wore like a big floppy hat, big sunglasses, twice as big as her face. So that car, I was sneaking in on the passenger side. And I remember it was a 2-door, right? So there was a lever in the back of the seat. So you had to push up the lever, push the seat forward. And then in my case, I was going to hide in the back. So I jumped in the back. Well, when I jumped in the back, my legs kind of got pinned. The passenger door, what didn't close all the way. It was, couple inches gap, but it didn't close all the way. And so I was kind of, on the back seat, kind of doing this. And finally I heard her say, "Okay, bye guys, see you next time." So she was saying bye to everybody. She went out to her car. She got in her car, she opened the door, she got in her car, and she started backing up. Now you would have thought if her door was open on the other side, she would have noticed, but I guess it was just a couple inch gap. I guess she didn't notice that. And so she backed out into the street and then started driving. Well, about this time, force of gravity, when she turned, my body started coming out of the car. And so my feet and legs started to drag on the road. It was what do they call it? Whatever the word is for hard road, right? Not like cement, but you know what I'm talking about. And so my feet are starting to drag, and now my body's really coming out, like kind of my waist, waist and that are literally out of the car. I'm dragging on the ground, and I say, we call her Granny Toon, and I say, it was a probably fairly quiet voice at this point. I say, "Granny Toon," and she didn't hear me at all. And so by now my legs are starting to feel the pain. And so I yell out, "Granny Toon, stop the car." And so when that happened, she slammed on the brakes, and somehow I twisted. That just the force of gravity twisted, and my leg went underneath the car. My legs went underneath the car, and the rear tire, so the rear passenger side tire, rolled right over my chest. And I just remember it seemed like forever. I'm just simply trying to breathe, just trying to breathe. And then after that, um, I'm over on the street next to the curb, and it seemed like just forever I'm just trying to breathe. It was probably 5 minutes or so, and then finally I rolled over onto the grass on the above the curb. And so I'm just sitting there, just laying there trying to breathe. And I felt like I didn't play, I played flag football and stuff. I didn't play, football in high school or something, but I would imagine this would be like the feeling I had was, I would imagine, would be like linebackers in the NFL, just running right into your gut, right? So that's what it felt like to me. And I'm just forever, it seems like, just trying to breathe. And so as I'm doing that, finally she comes up and she says, "Lane, are you okay?" And I guess I was kind of angry at that moment. Not really at her, partly at myself, because I knew deep down, in the back of my mind, I knew it was my fault. I created the whole thing because I was playing stowaway with grandma. But I said, "Leave me alone. Just leave me alone." And I got up. Finally, I was breathing somewhat, and I walked back to my house, which was probably a block and a half down the street by this point. And I remember walking up, and my brother said, "Lane got run over," right? My brother Lane got run over, which was crazy. A couple of few of my siblings were out in the front yard playing around. And so I walked in the house, and what I probably should have done, we don't always do what we should have done, right? Woulda, shoulda, coulda, as they say. What I should have done is told my parents, "Hey, I just got run over. Let's go to the hospital," right? That's probably what I should have done. But no, I thought I better not tell anybody, better not say anything, because I might get in trouble. Weird ideas when we're 11 years old, right? And so I just went to my room and hung out there for a little bit, and then I went to sleep. Or I went to bed early, went to sleep. And then the next morning, my grandma, Granny Toon, came over, and she said, "Hey, maybe we should take you to the hospital." And I'm thinking, well, it's a little late now. If I'm going to die, it's too late now, right? But we did. Then she told my mom, and my mom's like, "What?" My mom's freaking out because I had gotten run over and all this stuff, and she didn't know about it from the day before. And so, long story short, we go to the hospital. The doctors say, basically, mostly luck. Also, because I'm 11 years old, my bones aren't fully formed yet, so they're still fairly pliable. The right speed, the right angle, whatever it is. Um, so I'm alive. The good news is I'm alive and nothing's broken miraculously. No broken bones, just kind of luck, or call it angels, or call it, whatever you want to call it. I survived, and now I'm here to tell the story. Is the good news, and this is a true story. I wouldn't have, if I hadn't have lived through it myself. I probably wouldn't even believe it. Now I had tire marks on my chest for about 2 weeks, so I kind of had blonde hair, but I probably looked something like this. And this looks more like maybe a tattoo, but it kind of is what I would imagine my tire marks on my chest to look like for those couple weeks. And I wish I had a picture of that. So that is the story, true story, of how I got ran over by my grandma and lived to tell the tale. Now, what does that have to do with business? In your business, if you tell a story, what does that have to do with it? Well, first of all, again, if you tell a story, your story, the words you say, tied to an emotion. And that emotion and those thoughts of that story can, people will remember what you say, but even more important, they'll remember what they feel. They'll remember what they feel when you told the story. And so, the stories you tell, that can have an impact. They might remember that seconds, minutes, hours, days, months, years, for their lifetime, depending on the story and how it affects them, and how they respond to how it affects them. And so I just know that stories are powerful in our business, and when used effectively, they can be very powerful. Now, a story could be you're actually talking to someone. You're having a conversation, whether it's in person, whether it's on the phone, whether it's a video like this, a live video, or some other video. It could be any video. It could be any kind of a post on social media. It could be a picture, a meme, just words. It could be a video. It could be, just about anything. Now, of course, we know that most of us don't have really long attention spans, so I'm probably going to end this video fairly quickly, because this is actually a longer attention span than a lot of people will have. Some people only give it 2 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes. Some people want up to 18 or 20 seconds. 21 seconds for a lot of videos online is about the limit that some people will give it. So that's how we can have a powerful impact with those short videos. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I invite all of us to consider, because we're just rounding out. I mean, we're starting December here. January 2024 will be here before we know it. And so at least for me, one of the things I'm going to do is consider, what is the new year have entailed for me, and what is my, you can call it goals, or what is my intention, what is my purpose as far as 2024. What do I want to accomplish, and what do you want to accomplish? I'd be happy to hear what you want to do for the new year, and how I can support you in that. So with that, have a happy Friday, have a great weekend, and let's have an amazing 2024, and let's kick it off right. Let's get ready for it. So with that, have a great rest of your day, and we will talk to you soon.